Crusaders. What a brilliant team. I always expected them to win. Showed true class today. So I'm happy with both games.
Yeah. And I have to say, I remember we did a preview and you did mention Crusaders by 10, only 1 point off. You're on fire with those predictions at the moment. And yeah, it was one of those matches that the Chiefs were right into it up until about that 50th minute. And then from there, going into halftime with those couple missed conversions from Damian McKenzie, who was kind of expected to have a very good game. I feel like that kind of let the Chiefs down just that little bit. And then from there, it was going to be a mountain to climb to try and take on a Crusader side. But ended up 13 of the Crusaders on the field at one stage, Sever Reece and also the yellow card of Cody Taylor taking the man out in the air, which at the time, I remember I had George behind me, Crusaders fan, and he was kind of saying that it just wasn't one of those penalties that you want to be given away, because he kind of looked like maybe he knew what he was doing in that situation.
Yeah, I'd never looked for a second like Cody Taylor was ever trying to pull out of that tackle. And I personally felt he could be in some more serious trouble than he was. But I'm actually glad that it ended up being only a yellow card, because you don't want to see red cards in finals, because it kind of brings down the value of the game. And hats off to the Crusaders for at least keeping the game close in that period where they were only playing with 13 men. But I'm a little bit disgusted with Damian McKenzie, because going from Mr. Consistency, winning the Chiefs games, to reach this final, and then he just couldn't step up and deliver at the end of the day. But then again, apart from his kicking game, he actually had a pretty solid game. He was consistent under the high ball. He did get a few breaks here and there. He set up some good offloads to his teammates. But in the end, it's going to be remembered for that 3 missed penalties. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
It was unfortunate for him because, of course, the Clutch King nickname had come about from the last few weeks of him playing some just incredible rugby. And like you said, he actually had the most meters gained for the Chiefs out of anyone, I believe. And he was running well with the ball in hand, making some decent defensive plays as well. There was an interesting one. That first try of Sever Reece's ended up with, unfortunately, for Sever Reece, the pants fully down at that stage for the man, which I feel like they kept on replaying, which maybe Sever Reece above me here I can see as well. He won't be too happy about that, I wouldn't think. But it's one of those ones that at the end of the day, the Chiefs, they made it to that final and they still put up a decent fight. And I feel like people shouldn't be discounting them and saying oh, competition's gone. The Chiefs, they could have a decent shot at making it close to that Super Rugby Trans-Tasman final, if not into the final, because at the end of the day, it's only 5 games. And if you can win a few of those 5 games, you're right up there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think this was the Chiefs' moment to win it and maybe build on it. But I do kind of feel like many other people are feeling just now that the Chiefs will have no chance in the Trans-Tasman. I do fancy the Blues for some reason. I do believe that they're just that team that can build on and really perform on the day. And if you really look at it, if it was a Blues Crusaders final, I think, I don't know. It could be one of those situations where I'm just very biased towards the Blues. But I never saw the Chiefs winning this game. I mean, I was surprised when they were keeping up with the Crusaders at halftime, and then also for the next 10 minutes in the second half, because they actually dominated that opening 15 minutes of the second half. And I thought to myself, well, does this Chiefs side really have a chance to win this Crusaders side? And then, unfortunately, at the end, the Crusaders just showed true class and dominated the last 20 minutes.
And we have also got in the chat, we have got on my side, we've got Milo, we've also got Mike Jones, and we have got just back on Rugby Challenge 4, and also how are we? We are doing well, although I think both of us probably lacking a little bit in the vocal cords at the moment. 2 back-to-back live streams, 2 exciting matchups. My voice is almost gone, and we've still got 2 more live streams later on tonight, which is very exciting. And also unlucky for Chiefs, says Milo. And yeah, it's one of those ones, the meters carried were actually pretty even in this match. I believe it was around 390 for the Chiefs to the 430 or so for the Crusaders. Tackles were both 92 per team as well. Like on paper, other than the score, like this match was very close. And I feel like the Crusaders, like they played the finals rugby that they are known for 24-0 when it comes to those games at home, like for finals matchups. So unless you have that miracle performance that perhaps the Chiefs had 1 or 2 weeks ago, it's going to be tough to beat them. And it's just one of those situations. I hope everyone is still excited for Super Rugby Trans-Tasman because there are going to be some exciting matchups, the likes of transitioning quickly. Super Rugby AU, the final, the Reds versus the Brumbies, and in the end, an 85th minute try for James O'Connor to win it for his side. The Reds once again coming back from behind at halftime to finish off the game, winning it. So now, first week of Super Rugby Trans-Tasman, we have got the Crusaders versus the Brumbies is the first game on Saturday night, and then the first game on Friday night is going to be the Highlanders versus the Reds. So 2 exciting matchups there as well.
Yeah, no, look, I wasn't so excited about Super Rugby Aotearoa as well as Super Rugby AU, but I'm really looking forward to this whole Trans-Tasman thing because it's very close to your normal Super Rugby competition that you would have had with the South African teams. But it's like I mentioned to you earlier, I do believe this Trans-Tasman will be successful if we could see some competitive games from Australia's teams. Because, I mean, in the past, Super Rugby was criticized for being boring because the New Zealand teams were just dominating every single game. So if the Reds and the Brumbies at least can win some really big ones against the New Zealand teams, I think this Trans-Tasman will be on fire. And I do back the Reds to cause some pretty upsets down the line.
Right. In that case, would you say perhaps Reds versus Blues in the final?
I don't know. You know, the fact with the Blues, they're such a good team. They've got the players, they've got the coaching staff. But one thing that lacks from the Blues are that consistency. So 1 week they will be world beaters, and the next weekend they will be the whipping boys of the competition. So it would be tough because, like you said, it's only 5 games. So, I mean, can they win 5 games in a row? That's the big question for the Blues supporters. And I personally don't think they've got that consistency at the moment. So, for me, the Trans-Tasman would probably go to the Crusaders versus Brumbies, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Just based on consistency, because the Reds are pretty inconsistent themselves as well.
Okay, here's a big spanner in the works then. Not saying it will happen. Crusaders lose the first week to the Brumbies and then somehow lose the second week to the Reds. Who are you picking in that final if that happens? Is it still Brumbies? And are you saying 2 2 Australian sides would make it? Or do you think there's another dark horse in the New Zealand sides that would be able to jump above the above the Crusaders in that regard? Not saying it will happen though, of course.
Well, looking at the competition, I'm not exactly sure what the fixtures are because I haven't gone through it just quite yet. But if you really look at it, you would expect maybe 2 New Zealand sides in the final, just based on the performance from the last couple of years. I mean, New Zealand teams have dominated Super Rugby for a reason the last couple of years, and Australia was normally behind South Africa when it came to Super Rugby. So, yeah, I would probably say 2 New Zealand sides in the final. I do think the Brumbies might get lucky and get there, but I don't really see it. 2 New Zealand sides for me, maybe.
Yeah. Right, and we have got a few people in the chat as well. We have got, unfortunately, I couldn't watch the game live because I was dirt biking, says Milo as well. Hopefully you have been able to watch some of those highlights because they were some very close matches. Definitely those final moments of Super Rugby AU's game, like edge of the seat kind of stuff there. Like,
sorry. I hope he fell off his dirt bike, because how do you miss a final like that?
Jeez. Right, okay.
I think that would have been proper. I think that would have been proper punishment for him for dirt biking and not watching the final.
And we have also got in the chat, 11J said, hi guys, hope you're well. We are doing well, and we have still got 2 more games of rugby on tonight as well, or / afternoon in South Africa, which I'm not sure whether to keep the suit on. Do you think I should leave the suit on for the next 2 in the middle of the night? I feel like I've committed with the 2 already, so maybe just go all the way.
But just pull it through, man. The suit suits you quite well.
Yeah, Kieran's also, well, he's wearing his good old suit with the All Blacks logo on it, of course. He's in his kit and ready to see some good South African rugby as well. And Milo, but I fell twice as well. So
you see, that's why. It's because he missed the final of the Super Rugby Aotearoa.
And then we've also got in the chat, we have got Trans-Tasman needs to hold up its defensive line if going against teams that'll be able to dissect the defensive line as well. That is from Mike Jones. And that's the thing. The likes of the Brumbies and the Reds, there's like the Brumbies, they are quite good at stealing that ball in the breakdown when they get the opportunity. And also you've got the Reds who have a huge forward pack, like 942 kgs their forward pack weighed in at. And it was a 54 kg advantage over the Brumbies, which you can understand why they ended up ending up in the situation of a few penalties against them at scrum time. But we have also got...
But I just want to say, I do think Tanela Tupou made up at least 20 kilos of that weight advantage for the Reds there.
Yeah. He is a solid individual, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we've also got in the chat, it's 9 p.m. where Milo is, and also Chiefs versus Crusaders for the final. We want our revenge, is the comment from Mike Jones. And I mean, that's the thing. 5 games is not many at all. We have seen if the Chiefs, if they go on that wonder run once again, 5 in a row gets you a finals position. 5 in a row would get you a home final. And it's one of those ones that, 3 or 4 games, if you're aiming for that, you're probably right up there. Of course, we will see the factor of points differential / I think they will be going with the amount of wins that a team gets. We did see that the Blues were on the same points as the Chiefs this year for Super Rugby Aotearoa, but because of those extra wins under the belt of the Chiefs, they made it through to that final. And yeah, it's going to be one of those ones that all it takes is a couple weeks of good form, bit of luck, and a lot of crowd support, and you are in that final. And at the moment, I'm hoping the Chiefs fans don't turn their back on the Chiefs, because we've got to think of what they did throughout this season to be able to get them into the position that they were. Like, no one expected them to be in the finals. No one expected them to win a game almost. Like, they were going, oh, maybe they might sneak one against the Highlanders or the Hurricanes or someone. But 5 in a row, finals rugby, beating the Crusaders, beating the Blues, beating the not the Chiefs, the Hurricanes, beating the other team who I've forgotten. Did I say the Blues?
Yeah, I think you did. But now the thing with that, I know Chiefs fans want to believe that their team will perform well, but I mean, I'm a South African, and if you look at the statistics, the Chiefs were very, very lucky to really reach this final, because yes, they've won 5 games in a row before they lost to the Blues, but if you look at the way they've won it, it could have gone either way. And if you look realistically, do you really think the Chiefs would be able to pull off another 5 like that, or at least 3 of those type of games? Or would it go to the other side and they would be on a losing side? Because I see you guys don't mention the Hurricanes quite a bit. And for me, they are the dark horses of this competition. I mean, they've got some quality players in Lamape and the likes of Jordy Barrett. And I just kind of feel that these guys might just surprise everybody and be in that final of this Trans-Tasman competition.
Yeah. And also Sharks and Bulls to get the win, I think, says 11J said, and think the Hurricanes might do better if they get a few wins against the Aussie teams. They could get some confidence as well. which is something that you just mentioned about. And they've got an extremely confident playing against themselves as well. Said Mike Jones, this is a huge for AU Rugby. They'll be able to build off a step-up competition as well. And that's the thing, like the Reds are playing almost, you'd say, very similar rugby to the way that the Crusaders play, the style of rugby. And that's why, like, when they clash in Super Rugby Trans-Tasman, it is going to be one of those ones that is going to be exciting to get to see who is going to be able to get the better. Yes, the Crusaders are probably the favourite, but, you know, the Reds and the Brumbies put Tanela Tupou running straight at one of those Crusaders players and say, try and stop him. And then a lot of them probably would. But, you know, if he's going to do it 10 times in a match and just keep on hitting the ball up, that creates gaps in a back line because you got to lure in that extra man to try and cover the big man. And that is where the opportunity does arise.
Definitely. So, two differences that I saw from the Super Rugby Aotearoa Final compared to the AU Final. And I did mention it in my live streams. It just felt for me like the Brumbies Reds game was a lot quicker off the breakdown. The ball got cleaned out a lot faster in the Australian game than with the New Zealand one. Now, I don't know if that is just a strategical movement from the New Zealand teams to maybe just slow down the game a little bit and play what they see, where Australia teams, on the other hand, just go with the flow. Quick at the breakdown, let go, quick ball, recycle ball, go out quicker. Because I did notice it in my voice, or in my what's the word? Bloody hell! My oxygen levels went to the roof with the Australian game because the breakdown was flowing a lot faster. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how the slowed down version of New Zealand teams compared to the fast play at the breakdown from the Australian teams, and how that's gonna mix and match between the two teams. Because I do prefer the quick breakdown, quick passes, pop passes from the scrum off. But then again, it led to a lot more knock-ons in the Australian game. I don't know if you noticed that as well.
Yeah. Because then the New Zealand game also affected by a bit of rain later on in the match, which I think affected how the two sides were playing, because it kind of became more about that territory rather than kind of hitting it up. But the likes of David Arveli and Lester Fainaanuku in the midfield for the Crusaders, they were looking like they were going to be able to hit it up all day. Sever Reece had a phenomenal game as well. Will Jordan at the back. And it goes back to that preview of mentioning about if they can get that quick ball out that back line to those talented players, then gaps open up. And the Will Jordan try at the start of the match, like the ball just set up beautifully for him. And I feel like when that man's in form, like he is unstoppable. Like every match now, 5 matches, at least 5 tries against the Chiefs for Will Jordan. He is, I believe, the only man to score in let alone about 3 of those matches rather than all 5. So very impressive from him. Tamati Williams versus Tanela Tupou, 2 generational talented props as well, says Mike Jones. So that would be an exciting matchup as well. 6'5" of Tamati Williams versus the hammer, I was told his nickname is, for Tanela Tupou as well. And how do you edit your thumbnails? I do use GIMP for editing those. Apart from the Reds and the Brumbies, do you think any other Australian teams would do well against the NZ's teams? That is a good question.
No, I don't think they'll do well. Look, the Waratahs in a rebuilding phase, so I think they will be the whipping boys of the competition. As far as the Rebels and the Western Force are concerned, I just don't think they've got enough quality players really to match. Because if you really look at it, it's only the Reds and the Brumbies that could really cause any concerns for the New Zealand teams. And then when I say New Zealand teams, I prefer to mention the likes of the Crusaders and the Hurricanes and the Chiefs. And yeah, that's where I would say end. I know I'm a big fan of the Blues, and yeah, I just don't think they're consistent enough. And the Highlanders, they basically in the same boat as the Western Force or the Rebels from Australia. They just don't have enough firepower to finish it off. So yeah, I don't think the other teams will be any match for these 3 New Zealand teams, left alone for the 2 Australian teams.
Right. Okay.
Thoughts on that?
Well, I'm in a similar boat, although the way that the Western Force were able to beat the Reds, and they played very well against the Brumbies as well. Like, yes, the scoreline wasn't as favourable for them in that match against the Brumbies, but I feel like they were missing Rob Kearney as well in that number 15 jersey, and some of those young players, I feel like in a way the Western Force almost became the Chiefs of the Super Rugby AU competition, with the fact that the crowd was starting to really back them, and getting that win over the Reds at the end of the season was just like a big highlight for them and a bit of a confidence booster. So maybe that would help them. I think they might finish third once again in terms of the Australian teams, just because of the fact that I think they'll be up there above the Rebels and the Waratahs once again. But also we have got in the chat from it is 11J said with the Highlanders Highlanders coach leaving to go to Japan for a bit, how do you think the Highlanders will do as well?
Coach is what? Currently Tony Brown, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I personally, I'm not a big fan of Tony Brown. I might be just, I don't know, I wasn't a fan of when he was playing as a player, and that basically maybe went on to his coaching career. So I don't think the Highlanders will miss him too much, but I don't know who's going to replace him. But I do think that they need to get a solid coach in the place of Tony Brown, because he does lack experience, and I think that's what's killing the Blues at the moment as well. Nothing against Leon McDonald and Tano Manga, but I just don't feel that they've got the experience at this stage to be coaching these franchises. I think they would need to get guys like the likes of Gatland, maybe, although Gatland did pretty bad with the Chiefs. You can argue at the end of the day. But I mean, surely there's got to be some more experienced New Zealand coaches out there.
Yeah, because I know also injuries have played a huge factor throughout these seasons for the Super Rugby AU and also Aotearoa. I believe the Highlanders have lost about 13 players due to injury, which is pretty much their whole starting lineup, because they've had a lot of reshuffles. And it does make it tough, because I know Josh Ioane is now out with a knee injury, I believe, if I'm not wrong. That was why he missed the last match for the match against the Hurricanes, which is when we got to see Nihi Munaskata for the first time as well, a player who hopefully we get to see a little bit more of in Trans-Tasman. But then we have also got Mike Jones. I said, do you reckon De Groot is an All Black contention? Put him in the squad like Quinton Strange, get him mentored by the experienced players, tweak up his game. Another bloody huge and mobile prop, specialises in the scrum and is incredibly mobile. So that is Ethan De Groot off the Highlanders, in fact. And he's had a pretty good season so far for the Highlanders. And that's the thing. A lot of people do say our props are where our depth kind of isn't completely as much, isn't it? So maybe, he is a future prospect, I feel, because he has been playing very well. And he's got that size and mobility, as it was mentioned, to be able to really be a dangerous player in a few years' time, perhaps World Cup time. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, I think he needs another season or so to just stamp off his authority. But, I mean, New Zealand got some proper props. I mean, there's quite a few from the Chiefs as well. I just can't don't ask me to mention the names at this stage. But I know that the Highlanders had a few good props a couple of seasons ago, but I think they moved on to other teams. But I mean, there's about 6 or 8 players that could step up into the All Black jersey, and they won't lose too many grunt, I think, personally.
Yeah. Right. And then, of course, we did get your predictions for the 2 South African matches last week. But I will ask once again, you managed to nail the Bulls versus Lions match. You said by 15 exactly what it was. What is your score prediction for the Sharks versus Lions? And what is the score prediction for the Stormers versus Bulls?
All right. So going by the team selections for both teams, I would say the Lions are a little bit thin. So the Sharks by 12 or more.
Okay, 12 or
And
more.
then, yes.
Not a
And
completely
then,
specific.
yeah, let's put it down at 12.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it's more eventually.
Yeah.
And then with the North versus South derby, the Storm is also quite thin because they've had quite a few replacements. Obviously, they fly off and their centre gone and the one winger, and then a few changes up front as well. And the Bulls getting their Springboks back. Would 20 points be too much?
Oh, okay.
I don't
Now
know.
you tell me. You got a bang on last time, so I'll take your word for it.
I think the Bulls by 20.
Okay. And then we have also
Give or
got
take.
we don't got any world class props for the example of the Springboks. Who do you have the best loose head in the world, or a player like Taniela Tupou as well, and Joe Schmidt, Dave Rennie, and Scott Robertson? We are the coaches we could have benefited off. Instead, we get Fossey as well, and we'll rely on the quantity of Tamati and De Groot for future of the All Blacks. Is the comment from Mike Jones as well.
Yeah, a little bit into the future, though. I think there's still pretty solid players at the moment in the All Blacks setup at prop. And then to answer that question, who I think is the best loose-head prop in the world right now, I would have to go with Steven Kitshoff from South Africa. And then I do have Taniela Tupou down as the best started prop in world rugby at the moment. I know Taj Furlong from Ireland are quite highly rated as well, but I would go with the Southern Hemisphere props for this one.
Yeah. All right. I think I can agree with that. And of course, we'll get to see Steven Kitshoff captain his Stormers side in only about 3.5 hours' time. I think that is almost going to be the end of our post-match review. I realised we didn't actually talk about the two games that much. We kind of just got more into the general rugby chat. But yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you have, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to both channels, Rugby Guru and also the Kiwi Lads, as we have tried to co-stream it. So I'm not sure how well this has worked, but hopefully it's run smooth enough. And we have also got Eclipse in the chat quickly. As said, hi guys, I was at Suncorp. The atmosphere was incredible. Yeah, 43,000 in attendance, I believe it was. And those last moments, it's one of those ones they say about when you have like that last minute thriller, surely no one was still sitting down in those finals moments. Every time the Brumbies just somehow get them out, and then the final move by James O'Connor to get the win for his side, also scoring all 19 points for the Reds in that matchup. But yeah, very exciting. I'll be on the next stream, says Mike Jones as well, and that will be starting up at about 2 a.m, which will be the Sharks versus Lions game. And yeah, I guess I should say, since I do see the jersey that you are wearing, good luck to your Sharks side. And I am in the suit. I guess I'll just say I'm impartial like I do for Super Rugby Aotearoa as well.
You are called a fence sitter, man. That's the exact word we've got for you at the moment.
And I think I used that as well on the live stream. And I said about how I sit on the fence that much, I end up getting those splinters because it's just where I base myself in a way. But
the best place to be, though, I must admit. If I could have been a fence sitter, I would have been, but I'm just too passionate about my team to be on a fence for this one.
Yeah. Oh, well, good luck to them. Hopefully they will be able to get the victory for you by 12 points. I've got it written down. Jay said, or 11 Jay said has said, thanks, guys. Take care as well. But yeah, thank you all very much for tuning in. And we will see you all very shortly for our 2 live streams that we will be doing for the Sharks versus the Lions game.
Yeah.